I can't remember the last fucking time. I mean, I don't know if you and I have ever really hung out and talked. My guest is Jim Florentine. But we were definitely around each other for a long time.
Well, you know what? I always saw you in the clubs and stuff, but the first time we really kind of hung is when you had that show on VH1. Was it Nevermind the Bullock?
Oh, yeah, never mind the Buzzcocks.
Buzzcocks, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I was a guest on one of your shows.
That failure. That failure of a show.
I remember the day you must have been angry at the producer or something like that. You weren't in a good mood.
When we were shooting?
Yeah, we were shooting. I think I don't know if they did a couple of shows in one day or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't happy about the whole thing. You know, I didn't understand the fucking game. You know, it was, I don't know.
No, I hear you.
Oh, so I left a bad impression.
I loved it. I loved it because I knew what you were dealing with as a comic. You're like, dude, look, you know, you got 50 people in headsets walking around telling you what, you know, that joke, maybe you try something else.
Yeah,
and you're like, no, don't worry about it. I got it.
It was this game with no stakes. And I never understood the game, and I was sick the week that we were shooting, and the only reason I did it was to get me out of that first divorce. I was broke. It was fucking horrible. But you had you had an angle though, didn't you have an angle? Wasn't there like you had the long hair? I remember. And you were jamming Jim Florentine for a while.
Yeah. And I tried to do
music thing.
I was trying to be like the rock and roll comic.
Oh right, yeah.
Because I saw Kinnison and Dice.
Right, yeah.
I saw those guys. Like I was never. I loved Carlin and Pryor, but I never thought about being a comic. I really wanted to be in a band and be a musician, but I didn't have the talent. All my friends were in it.
To sing or anything?
To sing, yeah, I tried. Guitar, I was a lefty. Everyone's like, I'm a righty. I don't know I can't turn a guitar around. I can't teach you. And I'm like, shit. I mean, I even went for singing lessons one time, and the woman, after the first lesson, goes, look, you don't have it. I could take your money for the next 2 years, but you just don't have an ear for music.
Really?
At least she was honest. I liked that she was, because I could have been in there for 2 years thinking I had something.
But do you really need to have that? I mean, that's always wonder as I get older. It's like, well, you just need to be in it. You're just really earnest about it, and you'll get by.
No, but you have to be in key and all that, and I can't even hear the music. Like, I love music, but I'm tapping my foot. Like, what are you tapping your foot for? It's not
so you're out. Yeah.
I'm awful.
So then the angle was, because for some reason I thought you might have played guitar, because I remember the long hair jamming Jim Florentine, but that was the angle. And you were like, I guess we started probably around the same time, no?
I started like 90, 91.
Yeah, not too far after me. So we were always around the New York thing, and you were a club guy.
I was Comic Strip was the place I got in the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, there seemed to be a group of guys that come out of the sort of Dice tradition. Are you that guy?
Yeah. I mean, he was. Yeah, I was totally. I wore a leather jacket on stage with fringes. I had long hair, and I was just telling these dirty, nasty jokes.
Because you guys kind of put together you and Norton.
Yep.
And
Rich Voss was another
one.
Yep.
I remember when Voss started, he had that Jerry curl and in that weird ass ponytail.
Yeah. And they had those bad weightlifter pants. Remember those little, like those big puffy pants he used to wear? And he had the tan and
But he was never pleasant.
No. I know. The first time I met him, he goes, we did a road gig and I show up at the hotel. And I'm in the room, and then he comes in. He's like, who are you? And I'm like, who are you? He's like, I'm Rich Voss. I'm like, oh, I'm Jim. He's like, what are you doing in my room? I go, this is my room. He's like, no, this is mine. The booker only gave us one room. Of course, they didn't tell you. And he gets on the phone in the hotel room. And I never met him before. He's like, look, I'm not sharing a room with a guy named Jammin' Jim, so get me another fucking room. And I'm like, what a dick this guy is.
He's fucking mellowed so much, though. He's like, he's like some sort of like whipping boy over there at O&A. Like, I don't know how, like, he used to be such a kind of a douchey dude.
Yeah.
But now he's just a fucking sweetheart.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Their movie is great. Him and Bonnie did that movie.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Women Aren't Funny. I got a copy of it. They showed it to me. It's really good.
So you were just fucking out on the road, because I was trying to figure it out. Like, there was a lot of dudes that I started with. Like, I'd go on and off the road. I never really kind of locked in long enough. I'd always do other shit. I never built any relationships out there. But you were one of those dudes that was like fucking everywhere. You like did every fucking room, A or B, that you could do. And you spent your life out there.
Yeah, because you know what? I went into New York in the beginning. And
where were you from?
New Jersey, Old Bridge, about 45 minutes south of.
So you're part of the New Jersey crew.
Yeah, me and Norton started at the same time. We started going to the city. We knew we'd have to make it there.
Did you know him before he started?
No, we met. I was running an open mic
in Jersey.
And he came down
when he had hair.
No, he still didn't have the. He still had the crew cut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was just completely awful. I mean, the jokes he was saying were just horrendous about like fucking his grandmother in church.
Yeah,
that was like his opening joke.
Yeah.
And I took a liking to him. I like this scumbag for some reason.
Yeah.
So we tried to go in New York City, and then we didn't know anybody, but we met Voss, and Voss said, I'm from, and he was, so Voss would take us to the clubs and go, hey, these guys are funny. He never saw us.
Yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, whatever. And then Voss took us on road gigs, opening for him, because he knew every shitty one-nighter.
Right. That's
so it was
right.
perfect. So we were out there every night working, awful gigs, but at least we're working.
But there was that whole sequence of like, they're not even B rooms. They're just these fucking miserable holes in the wall that you could do like, 2 or 3 a week sometimes, right?
Easily.
Yeah.
We were doing like 4 or 5, anywhere, some bar.
You, Voss, and Norton?
Me, Voss, and Norton. Yeah, absolutely.
Did they know what they were getting into? Because none of you had a name value at that time. And that's got to be a full assault of fucking filth.
Oh, it totally was. Like, yeah, it was. It was funny. Like Voss took me because chicks when I had the long hair, like in Jersey and Pennsylvania, these guys. I was like a rock star,
right?
Going to a comedy club. So chicks would always talk to me after the show. So Voss goes, "I'm bringing you on the road just to get pussy from you." But it was funny because I go up there and bomb. I always had like 8 minutes, and it was filthy and it was disgusting, and they hated me. And then after the show, like all the girls would be talking to me, and Voss would come over and goes, "Did you see his set?" He goes, I just killed up there for an hour. Did you watch what he did up there? It was so funny.
Did you guys ever get into trouble out there?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Because you're pretty nice guys. I mean, even Norton at his worst is like, he's very endearing.
Well, I don't know if you know, it's a famous story he wrote in his book.
What?
The first time we took him on a road gig to like Connecticut, to like Hartford on a Tuesday night. Norton, he meets this girl after the show. I just bought a brand new car. I leased it. I had no money, so he talks to this girl after the show. The girl wasn't interested, but she was being nice. So he sits with her, and he actually got her phone number. Mm-hmm. So he's all excited. Oh, my God, I'm going to call this girl eventually. And like she wanted nothing to do with you, but she was being nice. So we're driving home on like 684 in Connecticut, right? And I'm in the front, and Bob Levy was actually with it. He was headlining that time.
Bob Levy.
The Reverend Bob Levy, yeah. So we're in the front just talking. I hear this noise in the back, my back seat. I hear, and I turn around, I turn the light on, and Norton is jerking off in my back seat. Just sit and stroking it. I go, dude, what are you doing? And he doesn't even stop as I'm talking to him. He goes, I can't help it, man. I'm so horny with that girl talking to me. I can't wait till I get home. I go, dude, I just bought this car. You can't do that. And he goes, no, I got a T-shirt. Don't worry, it's not going to get on anything. He was holding a T-shirt in case it went anywhere. I go, dude, you got to stop. He's like, I can't. And he's still, as I'm arguing, when I pulled over, I go, dude, seriously, you got to pull your pants up. And he did. He didn't talk to me the rest of the way like it was my fault. He couldn't even wait to get home. He was only an hour away.
Oh, my God. That is so fucking beautiful. That's one of the best examples of sex addiction I've ever heard in my life.
No, he couldn't even wait to get home.
I got to get... But and then he put it on you.
Yeah, he's like, I got a T-shirt. It's not going to get on anything.
Just watch the road. I'm going to finish. Oh, my God. So how does it unfolded for you, though? I mean, I know that, it's a battle for all of us, but, what have you been doing?
I got the gig on this gig on Crank Yankers, that show on Comedy Central.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
with the prank phone calls and made him a pup. And it was weird because I was just basically, just doing B and C rooms.
Right.
And I would sit at home and I would wait for telemarketers to call because I had nothing going on.
Yeah.
I didn't have a show till like 11 o'clock at night at the cellar.
Right.
And I would keep a telemarketer on the phone for like an hour. I'm like, let me see what I could do because I really, it's like what. And my friend Don Jameson, he's like, dude, he goes, put me in on three-way. I want to hear this. He's like, you're onto something. This shit is funny. I'm like, really? I only thought it was funny. I was just amusing myself. Right. So I just recorded a bunch of calls and I put a CD out of them. I said, I'll just sell it after my shows. What the hell? I'll get my name out there. And he brought it into the Stern show, Howard Stern show, because he knew one of the producers there, Gary Delabate, and he goes, hey, if it's funny, we'll play it on the air. And the next day, Stern started playing that. He's like, who is this guy? This guy's funny. And then Jackie the Joke Man leaves the Stern show. And then they start having like unknown comics sit in on the show and just that never happened before.
Right.
So Artie Lang, Doug Stanhope, Fitzsimmons, me, Craig Gass,
Chappelle,
only because of those goofy calls. They go, we'll let this guy sit in, and Stern took a liking to me.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, Kim and Carolla were looking for guys to do prank calls because they're doing this new show for Comedy Central, and they go, who is that guy that does those calls? And I got that gig just like that.
That's a good story.
It was insane.
And you still do Stern?
Yeah, I do it once in a while.
I don't have any. I don't have any relationship with him at all, and I don't. I never was on the show, and I guess because I didn't grow up with him, I don't listen to him that much. But he's a nice guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah?
Great guy. I mean, he basically made my career. If it wasn't for him, I don't know what I would be doing. I mean,
a lot of comics go on there.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I remember I was doing the Funny Bone in Pittsburgh. Remember that shitty gig?
Uh-huh.
So I would get like $500.
Who was it? What was the name of the guy?
Jeff Schneider.
Okay, yeah.
So $500 to feature.
Yeah.
shitty condo, whatever. And then I'm doing a Stern show for 2 days, and my agent calls and goes, "Hey, let Jim headline Pittsburgh. He's going on Stern. He'll plug because Stern was on in Pittsburgh."
Yeah.
He goes, and give him 1,200. He says, "I'm not giving him 1,200. He doesn't have 45 minutes," and I had 45.
Yeah.
So he goes, "All right, give him 1,200. If he sells out a show, he gets $1,000 bonus a show." He goes, "All right, no problem." I went on and plugged the 2 days. I sold out 5 shows. 5 shows. He was so pissed, the freaking club owner, even though his club was packed, that he had to pay me like $6,200 compared to 500.
Oh, so he said do it for 500, but if he sells out $1,000 bonus on each show.
Each show. He gave me 1,200. Yeah, and 5 shows.
That's a beautiful victory.
It was beautiful.
Oh, fuck him.
I love that.
That was great.
And you know what?
Because he was like that. He's never gonna
He's like he goes. He's a feature. He does 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit.
That was a good play. You still with that manager?
No, not anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? I got to thank you because you're the one. A few years ago, you contacted me because some booker in Phoenix fucked you over a gig, and I was doing it.
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
And I was doing the gig in a few weeks, and you go, "Jim, the guy didn't pay me, so don't show up. You better make sure you get your money up front."
Yeah.
And I already had half of the money. My agent goes, "Mail me half when I got the gig booked."
Right.
So I had already had a deposit in the bank and everything. And then we found out, luckily, you tipped me off on that. And I never showed up for the gig, and I kept half the money.
Yeah.
Because he's saying, "I'm going to wire it. I'm going to pay Mark. I paid him. I can't find his address." Like he was making up all his shit.
Well, he crapped out. You know, it was a sad situation. Because that guy, but it was one of those situations where, he was a kind of a comic and he had this big room and he thought it was a no-brainer to fucking just pull people there. And I wasn't a big pull, and he made this guarantee, and it wasn't even so much like I could have taken the hit if he just made it right. But then you get there and he's got us at a hotel that, his friend who worked at the hotel looked like was stealing the room. Like we couldn't put our name on the room. So the whole thing was kind of weird from the beginning. And then I didn't pull any people, and then he didn't have any money at all. And, even for travel. And I was like, fuck it. And I just wanted to call you because I was like, no way.
Yeah, and I didn't show up.
Did you ever hear from the guy?
Well, he said he was going to sue me because he wanted half his deposit back. So I didn't get on the plane. And he had never heard from him, so I kept half the money. So I should give you half of what I got. And I'd have to go to Phoenix for the weekend. I'm like, this is beautiful. I stayed home.
Yeah, that poor guy, boy, he probably hates my fucking guts.
No, but you did the right thing, and it was great.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about like the internet and social. You can get if someone fucks you over before, you just have to be a word of mouth thing. Don't go to that guy.
Yeah, you just like I want. I saw the people were on the schedule, and I just wanted to give everyone a heads up because he just wasn't legit. Like it wasn't. He wasn't a bad guy. He just had a big idea.
Yeah.
He looked at this big empty room that he had access to. It was an old movie theater.
Right.
And he was like, "This is a no-brainer. Like I'm just going to bring these guys out and fucking cash will roll in. I'll sell out 500-600 seats." And I don't know what you could pull in Phoenix. I couldn't pull there.
No, I couldn't either. I was like, I'll take the guarantee. All right, no problem. Yeah.
Right.
Because the Improv was going to cock block you from getting on radio.
Right,
That's what they do in those big markets.
You can't get on,
You do a secondary room. They go, look, we're paying $1,500 a week to advertise on the 2 big rock stations. You can't have the competition on. They're not buying any ads.
Yeah.
So even though you have a good relationship with the DJs in that market, they won't have you on.
Yeah, I don't. You know what, dude? Club politics and that kind of bullshit. It drives me nuts. I mean, like I barely work improvs. I just don't feel like I owe them anything.
Right. No, absolutely.
Do you?
No, believe me, I battled over the years with the improvs.
Really? About what?
Well, all right, so this is a famous story. So they opened the Houston Improv, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a 500-seat room.
Why do they do that?
This is like 8 years ago. So
you know why they do that, though, don't you? Because that means, like, if they got a handful of dudes that can sell out and make that kind of money, great. But most of us can't.
Right.
So what they do is they sell some tickets and they just give away all of them. And for the drink minimum.
Right.
So we're playing for people that don't give a fuck.
Right. So there's 100 of your fans in there and then 300 that care less.
Yeah.
Get free tickets. So when it opens, the Improv in Dallas, I was friends with the owner there, and he was partners in that room. And he goes, "Yeah, we're opening this room." And I was doing the old, what is it, Comedy Stop, where Hicks and I was doing that room in Houston.
Yeah, I remember that room.
That was a great room.
Yeah. What Mark Babbitt?
Yeah. So he goes, "Don't worry, Jim." He goes, "Look, I'm nothing against you, but you can't fill that room, so you could just do the other room in Houston. It won't be a problem." I said, "Okay, perfect." So I do that 4 or 5 times. That room, getting a nice following in Houston. Improv calls my agent, goes, "Look, we want Jim at the Houston Improv because they knew I was doing numbers over there. So I go, I can't do that to the guy. I've been there 5 times. And they go, look, if Jim doesn't do the Houston Improv, he's not getting the 15 other improvs in this year.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I really sat on it. I go, you know what? Too bad. I go, I can't ruin that relationship over there.
Yeah.
And this is bullshit what they're doing. I said, so you know what? I'm going to just do secondary rooms in the markets. Forget the improv.
Right.
So the next day, my agent tells him, and Geraldo was on my roster. He was with my agent too.
Yeah.
So they said we're going to pull Geraldo's dates if Jim doesn't.
What
do
is that
Houston.
fucking mafia shit?
It was so I had to call Pete. Well, Babbitt or whatever, and I say, look, dude, this is what they're doing. He goes, don't worry, just go over there. I understand they're being dicks.
Was it Babbitt or the new guy? There was
another guy, Pete.
Yeah,
it was actually Pete. So I go over there. I don't fill the room. There's 130 people a show. And they never had me back at the Houston Improv, and Pete never had me back over there. So I haven't played Houston in 8 years.
God damn it, man! It's like I hardly ever talk about this. I do a little bit, but I try to be diplomatic. But there gets a certain point. The great thing about what's happening in the business now is, like, quite honestly, if you really think about your career, this is my thoughts on it. They think they're a monopoly, but they're not. So they think they have us over a barrel, but they don't. Because I don't know anybody that really likes those rooms. And then, like, all of a sudden, when you get a little success, they're like, all right, why don't you come? I'm like, what? Why do I owe you anything? What do you think? I can play anywhere.
Yep.
I can play a place where I could take in 80% of the door that has, 300 seats and fill it with people that like me. Why do I owe you anything? That's what kills me.
No, I know. It's, and now, Stanhope really set the path and, Posehn and Patton doing all the, the rock clubs and stuff like that. So I've been doing that a lot in areas.
And that working out?
Yeah, getting like 200-300 people just doing one show. And
why not?
Absolutely. Instead of being there for 5 days.
I still like doing clubs. I'm surprised there are certain areas where you don't know where the hell you can draw and where you can't.
I know.
It's a bizarre thing.
And then, like I said, you can't get any press. Very rarely can you do it by doing the rock clubs because the improvs do, and the funny bone, whatever big clubs in the area block that.
But if you got a good Twitter following and you've got, your people, they're sort of, but it kind of sucks that you can't do, I always forget about that. When you don't have radio, like, why don't I have radio? Oh, because they're owned. They're not going to bring, they're not going to go where their bread isn't buttered or whatever.
No, they won't. They don't care. It's all business to them. And then, you bitch when you don't have radio, but then when you have it, you're like, I get more.
I got to get out. Yeah. How many? There's some clubs like you do 5 or 6 and you're like, are you kidding me?
I just did, I was just in Knoxville last week. I did 3 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. I said,
And that whole day's fun.
I had an hour and a half in between to try to take a nap.
How was that, Knoxville, Tennessee?
It's a great room. There's a place called Side Splitters.
I heard about that.
It's a great room.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to. Have I been to Tennessee? I was just in North Carolina. That place, Good Nights. It's a good place. Still.
Yeah, I did want that back in the day.
Yeah, me too. I hadn't been there in 15 years.
Yeah, that's a good room.
It's like the same. Like the room. I didn't remember it being as good a comedy room as it is, but it comes right back at you, man. I mean, it's like a great room, and he's like, I don't know, he rebuilt it a little bit. It's nice. It's fun down there.
You know what it seems like? It seems like the B rooms in the area are the better rooms now. Like there's a place called the Funny Stop in Cuyahoga Falls, which is right outside of Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
And that room, they pay like $10 on a Friday night.
Right.
12 on Saturday.
For tickets?
And they don't paper the room. And it's, it's a bit, but it's a great old school room.
Well, that's why I'd rather play independently owned comedy clubs where, that's a guy that owns it and, he's invested here. Because when you go to the corporate comedy clubs, you're like, no one gives a fuck. They don't care who they run through. And it almost feels like, it has an effect on the audience. You're sitting there doing your best shit. And it's like how is that not getting anything? And there's 300 people in here because they don't give a fuck. They don't know who you are.
They don't care.
It's just another ride at the park.
They don't care. They gave away free tickets. Hey, 2 drink minimum, $7 a beer. That's 14. And if they get mozzarella sticks, that's $21 times 2. That's a minimum of $42 they got for the 2 people that got it for free. Hey, no problem. That's paying the bills.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. They don't.
And then those people don't like the show. They fill out the comment card. Headliner sucked. Yeah, because they got the bill. Like, why are we paying? We got free tickets and we got to pay.
We don't even know the name of the headliner. The guy is terrible. So where did you grow? What part of Jersey?
Central Jersey, like Old Bridge.
And what kind of world was that? I mean, what kind of family you come from? What does your old man do?
7 kids.
7?
Catholic.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Where were you in the?
I was right in the middle.
Oh God. Well, that's probably not a bad place.
4
to
boys,
be.
3 girls. Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
So you're brought up full on Catholic?
Full on Catholic. Catholic schools my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, complete.
No jail time?
No jail. Believe me, the shit I got away with, I'd still be in jail right now. The stuff that I did
when you were in high school?
High school, grades, everything. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I remember one day, like 4th grade, I hated being Catholic because all my friends were in public school.
Right.
I wanted to be with them.
Yeah.
And, that was the whole thing. It's a better education.
Right,
Meanwhile,
right.
the priest is teaching me math. Like, what the fuck does he know about math? He doesn't know.
Yeah, X is God.
Yeah. Yeah. If I grab your balls, how many balls do I hold? 2. Okay, so we're learning
we're
math
learning
today.
math, yeah.
So 6th grade, they make an announcement in the morning. Go, hey, this Catholic school, we just bought these new wrestling mats. They cost us a lot of money, so please take care of them.
Yeah.
So what do?
Yeah.
Later that day, I cut them up with razor blades.
Just out of spite.
Slit them all up.
Yeah, and then you just kept your mouth shut.
They narrowed it down to our class, and there was 3 kids in our class, 3 bad kids, me and 2 other guys. So we were in the office for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And the nuns and the priests would just smack us in the face and punch us in the head. We know you did it. Say you did it. I go, I didn't do it. Well, you're not going back to class. I'm like, oh, I'll just sit here.
Did the other guys know you did it?
No, and no one knew I did it.
Beautiful.
So I just never admitted it. My parents made me swear on a Bible. They took me to a priest. They go, we need you to swear on a Bible. And I swore. I put my hand on a Bible and swore on it.
Yeah.
So then I was in the clear with my parents.
Oh, good.
They go, if he swore on a Bible, so then they were fighting with them. He wouldn't do that. I just broke it to my mom like 3 years ago. She was so pissed. And that was like 30 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. She's like, I can't believe you did that.
You swore on the Bible?
Yeah. I go, I went to confession. I'm even.
Did you go right after?
I didn't. No, I just, eventually.
You never went to, you did eventually?
I did, yeah. I would go to, yeah.
So when you swore on the Bible, was there any thought then at that moment, like, I'm going to hell for gym mats?
I didn't even care. I want my parents off my back. And then they threw me out of the school at the end of the year, so then I went to public school for a couple of years.
Oh, that's good. Then it served its purpose.
But even in high school, I went to this. I moved to Florida for a couple of years. The priest in
you were a Florida guy?
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale. I lived in for like 2 years.
When, as a kid?
Yeah, my dad was the CEO at Dun & Bradstreet for like 25 years.
What is that?
Chief financial officer.
But what is Dun & Bradstreet?
It was like a big firm in New York, like a big financial firm.
Okay, yeah.
So he was making like $100,000 a year in the 70s.
Right.
He was a really smart guy, and he had this dream. He's like, I want to get a bunch of hot dog trucks, like those food trucks that go to construction sites,
sure.
And I want to open my business. I think that's going to be great. So he bought like a truck route of hot dog trucks down in Florida.
That was his big plan.
That was his big plan. So he left the job making like 100 G's a year in the late 70s. Went down there to open this thing, and it completely bombed. Within like a year, he was completely broke.
He brought a fleet of trucks. That was his
and
dream.
Old shitty trucks.
This is going to make me $1 million dream.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's like, the whole family's going to cook the food in the morning, the chili and all this stuff. And
so was he like manic about it? Like, so he had all you guys up and work?
We had to move down there. Yeah, well, I was going to school, but yeah, we worked. And my older brothers were out of high school, so they were working the trucks. They were driving them and other people, and they would and it completely flopped.
Well, what happened? Was it like he didn't have the connections necessary?
It just wasn't that big of a moneymaker, and the trucks were like, 30 years old, so they're constantly breaking down.
So he had to get these licenses to sell food, to sell hot food, and oh my God.
It was a disaster.
The whole family was like, you just were, your life was full of hot dogs and chili and
and we were great. We lived in Jersey. We had a nice house, like we weren't upper class, like middle class.
Oh my God.
But it was great. We all had friends, and my dad had this dream. He's like, we're going to Florida.
The hot dog truck dream.
The hot dog truck. So within a year, he was broke.
And what happened then?
We moved back within like 2.5 years.
And did he get his old job back?
No, he didn't get his old job back.
That was the end of your dad's run?
He went from working that $100,000 a year job to working at like budget rent-a-car answering phones down in Florida for like $12 an hour. Because he couldn't find work. He was so overqualified for work.
And then when you moved back to Jersey?
Then he started getting back into like real estate with my brothers, so he kind of like picked up, and he did okay after that, but still.
Oh, the arc of it's so weird when you have a father who's got a dream. And it's even worse when they commit to it. It's one thing if they're just speculating, like, I ought to do this, and then, but once it's engaged, and there are trucks involved, and you just all sit there and watch the thing crumble, it's so fucking horrendous.
Oh, it was brutal, because as soon as I was done with school, I had to clean the trucks, I had to make chili for the next day, put it in the refrigerator. It was just like till like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know how to cook. I don't want to do. I'm a kid. I'm 16 years old. I don't want to do this shit.
Did your dad ever did he ever recover? Was he all right? I mean,
he was all right. Yeah, he took it. He took it on the chin for a while.
And what did the rest of your family end up doing?
In the real estate and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, two of my older brothers.
Yeah.
Then, well, they built up this huge, they're buying a bunch of shit, made a lot of money, and then the real estate market crashed like in the mid 80s or something like that, and they lost everything. My father lost everything again. We were renting a house. I was paying most of the rent.
Like doing comedy?
Well, I was working during the day too. I had a job during the day, and I would do comedy.
What were you doing?
I was landscaping at one point, and then I was working the fuel tanks at the airports, like at JFK and Newark.
Yeah.
This guy would fix them, like the gauges and all that stuff, and I was just a helper. I would just hold the screwdriver. He was paying me like $15 an hour off the books.
What a weird job.
I know, but he was a friend of mine. He's like, "You want to?" Yeah, he'd get up at like we worked from like 6:30 to 2:30. I was home at 2:30 in the afternoon.
And you go out to the airport?
Yeah, and it was as soon as he picked me up, I started my day working, so we had to be back by 2:30.
Right,
making $15 an hour, and he was paying my health insurance too.
That's fucking sweet.
I know, he's a good dude, but then then when I started doing comedy, I was like, this is what I want to do. I got to get out of this. And I told him, I said, look, so I went from making, $600 a week cash to, maybe 100.
But that's all. I always think like it's weird when you kind of like have a weird job like that. Like, where does that come from? You're just going to drive out to the airport and he's going to look at dials and you're going to stand there and go,
that's
all right.
It. Yeah, and he go, I got a meeting in there. I'll just wait in the van. I would just sleep in the van. I'd be out because I was hungover. Yeah. I'd go out drinking with my friends and be up at 6:30.
So when was the first comedy gig though? I mean, what drove you to it? Dice?
Yeah, I saw Dice, do his 7 minutes on Dangerfield.
Oh God, right.
That special was just, everybody on there. You even look back that I saw that and I was like, holy shit, that's what I want to do. And I saw Kinnison a bunch of times, but it took me still another like year and a half to actually get the balls to get up on stage.
I just watched part of Dice. He was in here, Dice was. But I just watched part of his newest Showtime special, and his persistence it eventually get you. You know what I mean? Even if like the jokes are like they're straight up Dice jokes,
right?
But there's a while there, and this is a question I always have with you guys. It's like there's a point with Dice where you're like, well, this is really fucking wrong-minded.
Right.
But then, like, he takes it to such a level where you're like, all right, so we're in this world. It's not like he's doing it out of contempt or anything else. That's just the style of it. And I think that people misunderstand that sometimes. I mean, do you ever get flack for shit?
I don't, I started off dirty. I'm not really that dirty anymore. I'm more edgy, but I just got away from it because it was
What do you think the difference is? You mean just filthy versus
filthy for
pushing buttons?
For just being filthy. Norton did this show on HBO called Down and Dirty like 3 years ago, and I got picked to do the show, and they were like, dude, you got to come up with dirtier jokes. They're like, you're not dirty enough. I'm like, well, I don't really have any dirt. Like, I have, and they're like, well, come up with more. So I was like in the clubs for like 3 weeks coming up with like, ass eating bit. I'm like, I gotta throw this in there.
I can't do Norton show unless I eat ass.
I know. I go, I'd rather do that. They're like, no, it's not dirty enough.
You're on a fucking a dirty show when they're like, we need your angle on ass eating. Like Bobby Kelly's got his angle. I got my angle. What's your ass eating angle?
I know. I'm like, Norton. I asked Norton. I go, do you do ass eating jokes? He's like, no. I go, all right, good. So I won't touch on your jokes. But I remember I was trying to get a set for the Tonight Show. Yeah. I got approved to do the Tonight Show at the same time. So I'm going in clubs in New York and I'm doing 5 minutes of clean and then 5 minutes of that. So I tell the audience when I go up there, go, all right, this is what's going on. I would warn them because my first 5 was all like silly, just funny, clever joke, and then the next was just complete disgusting filth. So I'd have to warn them because at first I didn't. They're like, oh, what happened?
Why are we here? Like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Did you do the Tonight Show?
I never did. They always,
They've jerked you around?
Yeah. I mean, they liked me there, but it was just like, we need to switch this one and switch that. I was just like, forget it. So
oh God, it's fucking horrendous. I've never done that show. I don't know.
I would love to. I mean, but
Have you done Letterman or anything?
I've done Kimmel. I've done Kimmel 4 times.
He's a good guy, man.
Kimmel's a great guy, man.
He's like he's a big winner in this whole weird thing.
I know.
He's minded his own business.
Exactly.
He's just fucking focused on his shit.
Yeah.
He's a good guy too. Good guy.
He's a great dude. Because he was one that basically plucked me out of obscurity with the Crank Anchor show. So I've been friends with him since.
Yeah.
So I did George Lopez's show a couple times when he was
right
on. So I did. What's his face? What's the guy that retired? The Late Late Show. Craig Kilborn.
Yeah.
He took a liking to me, so I did his show like 3 times.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I want you like once every 6 weeks.
What happened to that fucking
And
guy?
then he quits. And I'm like, you can't, I haven't been on since. I don't know. He wanted to write sitcoms. And
he wanted to be an actor, too,
Yeah.
right?
And he hasn't, I don't even know what he's
showed
done
up in a movie here and there, and then that was that.
He would have had that gig for life.
I know. He was, and everyone used to say that, too. He was just sort of cut out for it. You know?
Yeah, but all those guys, I mean, Carson Daly, I love Carson, but, his show will be on for the next 30 years, and people are like, oh, yeah, his show's still on?
I don't know what I don't know if I love Carson Daly. I mean, I don't quite, I get it that, he seems efficient at that hour, know,
Right.
and he's sort of there and he seems friendly enough, but it's hard to decipher a specific personality with Carson Daly.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not trying to drag you into saying anything.
No,
bad
no,
about
yeah.
him, but I don't know what he does. He just seems to fit on television and he stays there.
But all those late night guys, like, you could be there forever. You know what I mean? You got that gig forever. Just get 1.2 share or whatever like that.
Hang out.
You're getting, they were saying Kimmel, even like his rating was like a 1.5 or whatever it was.
Right.
He was bringing in over $100 million a year in advertising his show. This was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like just a hidden secret how much this guy's making and just,
Right.
being there and just doing his show every night.
So do you have an end game for where you're at now?
I work on this show on VH1 Classical, That Metal Show.
Oh, you do?
It's a talk show. It's
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
like the Tonight Show for AC/DC
You host
fans.
it?
Yeah, me and two other guys host
I
it.
should know that. If I did my research, I would know that.
That's
I fucking love AC/DC, man. You know what I'm just getting into now? Because, I'm always late to the game, but AC/DC, I listen to them still. Like the first 6, or all the Bon Scott
The Bon
stuff.
Scott, yeah.
And maybe one, Brian Johnson one. I listen to Back in Black, but I don't go.
Right.
I don't listen much after that. I don't know why. I just
The
don't.
last one they put out like 2 years ago, Black Ice,
Yeah.
is a great record.
I did buy that, and I like that record.
It's a good one, yeah.
Yeah. Who are the other metal guys? Who are you
Yeah,
like?
we interview guys from Black Sabbath.
You love those guys?
Black Sabbath is probably my favorite band.
Really?
Yeah.
I got some of that on vinyl. I started listening to vinyl again.
Oh, I love vinyl.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's a sound in it. It's just,
I just started
it's not
doing
even
it.
close to
Yeah, but I just started listening to Tool.
phenomenal.
Yeah, that guy's sort of a genius, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's got 3 bands. He's got his own winery. And
Right, he's got Tool, Perfect, what is it, Perfect Circle? Is
Perfect
that what-
Circle and Pussify.
Yeah, is it Pussify or
Or
Pucifer? Is it
something-
Pucifer?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So he's working on that now.
Have you interviewed that guy?
No, we haven't.
Maynard?
He's impossible to get to.
Yeah.
We'd love to have him on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's just,
He's making wine.
Yeah, and he, if they don't have anything to promote, they don't want to come on.
Yeah,
The bigger
musicians are
guys.
tricky. Yeah.
We've had Tom Morello on from Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, he talks a lot.
Love him.
So how many shows you do a week talking to metal guys?
Well, we've done 11 seasons, which, only about 10 episodes
So
a
that's your
season.
gig.
So we're at about 110 episodes since 2008.
And that's your job.
Yeah, I mean, we do it like a month out of the year. We do
Right.
about 25 episodes a year.
That's great. And they
Yeah,
pay
so
you
it's-
pretty good?
No, I mean, come on.
It's MTV.
It's VH. Yeah, it's Viacom, so it's in that whole world. But it helps my draw on the road.
Right.
I got a bunch of guys in Iron Maiden shirts sitting right in the front. Dude, what's up?
You don't have a hard time talking to those people?
Well, no, because I can relate to them. But when I'm doing my stand-up, I do, because they're like, "How could you pick Judas Priest over Maiden?" They're yelling it out like a minute into my set. I go, "Dude, we'll talk about this afterwards." Yeah, but Maiden, come on, dude.
So you deal with most of your audience as dudes.
Yeah.
Angry dudes.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
I always wonder about that because, when I look at and I love Norton, I love these guys, but the thought of going on in front of their audience, I feel like I'd be devoured. I'd have to because I'm I'm not like an alpha guy, fuck everything kind of guy, really.
Yeah.
But there's they're frightening.
No, it is. The Stern audiences too, because I used to open for Artie Lang,
Right.
So do those shows, and then the Opie and Anthony ones. So those fans are animals. But I also open for bands. Like I did this Metallica festival.
How'd that go?
Last summer? It was amazing.
They loved it?
Yeah, I mean, it was 30,000 people at the festival. There was a smaller tent where they had comedy.
Yeah.
And there was about 6,000 people watching, and they were amazing.
That must be a fucking rush. 30,000 people. I can't.
I opened for Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax. I did a tour with them for 6 weeks, doing arenas,
And they
opening
listened?
for them. Well, what happened was I had to do 3 5-minute sets, so
Right.
in between each band. That was the Jägermeister hired me to be the host and MC, so I
Right,
give away
right.
some shit, and then I
Right.
have to do 3.5 minutes of material, a minute
Yeah.
and a half announcement. So the first set, that was great. There was 6,000 people in the venue. I could have done like a special.
Sure,
they were amazing
because no one had come yet.
Yeah, but a second set, they're like, all right, now the venue's got like 12,000. Like, who is this? They kind of know me from the show.
Why isn't there music going on?
Yeah, they're like, what is going on? Come on. And then by the third set, Slayer, because the Slayer fans are like insane.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, enough. All right, enough with your jokes. We get it. You're a comedian. Just bring the band on. Because they get mad because they think I'm taking time away from the band.
Right.
I'm that same guy. When the local DJ goes up, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Ozzy could play another song or whatever, I'm like, I don't want to hear your shit. I don't care about your station. So I picture myself being that guy.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I mean, they were throwing shit at me.
Right.
I was like Dane Cook up there. I was running back and forth, so I usually just stand there. Yeah.
Trying to get the attention. Just trying to focus.
So they couldn't hit me with stuff because there was beers coming at me and stuff.
It's a fucking horrible feeling when you're not connecting at all and you're just scrambling up there and you feel that horrible sweat. Like fuck.
No, and some guy punched me in the head after the show.
What are you talking about?
I was at the merch table because I made up these T-shirts. I figured if I'm going to play in front of these people, maybe I could sell some T-shirts after the show at the merch table. What the hell?
Yeah.
But when I got there, I found out that the headlining band, you can't sell any T-shirts less than them.
Yeah.
So Slayer's selling their shirts for $35.
Right.
So I made these shirts with just my name on it with like a couple of skulls. I got like 1,000 of them made. I got them shipped across the country. They're on the tour bus. I sold 3 T-shirts. 3, and I performed in front of like 236,000 people.
Oh, God damn
3
it.
T-shirts.
So what are you doing with those shirts now?
I still have them. I'm like, they're in my garage.
Oh, those fucking big ideas. Did you? I remember when I first put out my first CD and I had to press them and everything.
Right.
And I had that, I didn't want to go for a jewel box because it was too expensive, so I just got the cardboard envelope kind. I did some shitty cover art. I still have those.
You still have them?
Oh fuck, there's probably about 1,000 of them I still have. And then eventually it got reissued, but fucking that first big idea.
Yeah.
It's like the hot dog truck.
It was exactly. It was the hot dog truck. I know. I still got them. I try to get rid of them at shows.
Do you?
But I remember one time I was signing this kid's ticket. He didn't want to buy a T-shirt, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you go to a merch table. There's this Slayer has like 15 T-shirts
For $40, right?
Yeah, the iconic covers.
Yeah.
Megadeth has like 7. Anthrax has 5, and mine was all the way in the corner.
Jim
Just a
Florentine.
little. Yeah, they couldn't even see it because people go like, "What are you here for?" I go, "My shirt's up there." Like, oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah, I'm gonna get a Slayer
Who are
shirt.
you?
Yeah.
I was the guy running around back and forth.
So I'm signing this guy's ticket, and
Yeah.
this guy comes over and friggin' punches me right in the head. And I look up, and he's like, "That's what you get for wasting time on stage.
Oh my god.
You suck."
Wasting time.
That's
Like you were
wasting-
cutting into the next encore. Like if Jim hadn't gone on, they would have done another 2 songs.
Yeah.
Fucking assholes. But you also do this one man show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean what happened there? I mean, what was the story behind that?
Well, the one-man show is more like a story of my life, basically. And it's more storytelling and stuff. So basically, the whole theme of it is pretty much, my mom was like super, super religious, like almost like the Virgin Mary, basically.
Yeah.
So her whole thing was like, you got to just save people. That's what you got to do. My mom would just bring in people off the street and they would live at her house for like 2 weeks.
So that was her thing? Really?
She would take care of anybody, like someone's grandmother
Like
that lived down the
drifters?
block. Not so much drifters, but like people that were in trouble, like a kid that was hooked on drugs that lived in the neighborhood. His parents threw him out, so she would take him in.
So you had to live with these people when you?
Yeah, and I'm like, Mom, what?
Did they ever steal or anything?
No, they didn't. For some reason, my mom was just like amazing how she would just get them back.
So that was her Catholic mission.
That was her Catholic mission. And, anyone's grandmother down the street, I'll take care of her. And
Well, they were thinking about putting her in a home or something?
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, she was amazing the way she did that. So it was like, that's what you need to do with people. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So basically, every relationship I've ever been in is always with troubled women that needed to be taken care of.
So you're like a caretaker.
Yeah,
right?
just it's a disaster.
But you didn't know that about
I didn't
yourself.
know that. No, but I'm just like, if I see a disaster, I'm like, all right, I need to be taken care of. That's my project.
But you feel that when you see it, like when you because I have had my share of crazy women, but I'm not thinking I'm going to help them. I'm thinking like, oh, she's hot. She seems like out of her mind.
Yeah, she's dancing on the bar.
Yeah, it's great.
This is great. Yeah, this is awesome.
It's not like the caretaking doesn't come in until you're like, what happened? How come? Like the woman I'm with now. I mean, I've never been in the position where I actually feel like I have to, take care of her or care about her more. Like it's a good feeling,
right?
But it's a little daunting. Like,
it is. Well, at first, because it's fun, it's crazy. The crazy chicks, it's like, oh my god, they're wild.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But then all of a sudden, when reality sets in, you're like, oh my god, it's like, what did I get myself into? And then you feel bad, and then I would feel bad. I'm like, I can't. let's see if I could, work this one and just get her to a
Out.
better place. Yeah.
Like, how can I diplomatically shift her out of my life?
Yeah, and it was tough because I would feel bad. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know where to go or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was always a problem. So, like, that was every relationship in my life.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Always
Well, I didn't get
crazy.
laid for a long time because, like, the Catholic school and all that stuff. So I was a late bloomer. Like, till like 21, I had like one girl.
You didn't feel guilty about it. You just didn't have the opportunity.
I didn't have the opportunity.
Yeah. So what was the first girlfriend like?
Well, the first girlfriend, what happened was I used saran wrap on her as a condom.
Yeah.
And she broke up with me.
Oh. What do you mean?
It was our second time we had sex because we were fooling around. I didn't have a condom. It was like 2 a.m. at her
Yeah.
parents' house. And
Yeah.
she's like, "You got to get a condom." I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
And I just went up in her parents' kitchen. I was looking around. I'm like, there's going to be a condom laying around. So, they're going to have a dispenser. I'm just going to rip off.
It's a
like
Catholic
paper
household,
towels.
right? You're
Yeah.
not going to find one, right?
So I just ripped off some saran wrap and I used that on her. And she didn't know for a few minutes because it was dark. And
Yeah.
then she found out because she looked down and
Yeah.
just freaked and just broke up with me and just told me to get,
She didn't get pregnant,
lost.
though.
She didn't get pregnant, but that was like, she wasn't a complete disaster, but I screwed that up. Like the one girl I really fell in love with, I was like, I totally.
Over saran wrap.
And the whole neighborhood knew. My parents found out.
About
it was
the saran wrap?
Oh, yeah, because it got around the whole neighborhood.
How the hell did it get around the
My dad's
neighborhood?
like, "You're not even human. What the hell's wrong with you?"
But did he say you should use a condom or you shouldn't have been fucking?
He said, I can't believe you did that. You embarrassed the family. He was more to saran wrap. My mom was, like, how could, you're not married. What were you doing having sex? Oh, my God.
Your dad was embarrassed that his kid wrapped his dick in saran
Yeah,
wrap? What kind of idiot does
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was pretty clever at the moment. You're being resourceful.
I was. I mean, because, like, that was my, second time going to have sex. It was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even masturbate before I had sex.
What?
I did not masturbate till I was 21 was the first time I did it.
Really?
Yeah, I swear to
How
God.
did you get through adolescence?
I don't know. I just kind of like
You cut up in wrestling mats.
wrestling mats and
If you had just jerked off, there would have been a lot less
there would have been a
property
lot less.
damage.
I know. We used to go to the local pool in the neighborhood and break glass and throw it in the pool and throw all the furniture in there and plants and rip shingles off.
You just jerked off.
I know.
I can't even imagine that. So the first time you jerk off, you're 21. That must have been like the best day in your life.
No, I felt guilty because I was drunk one night and I did it like in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And the next morning I felt so guilty, like what a piece of shit I am that I had to do that.
So that Catholic shit.
Oh
really,
yeah, it totally screwed with me. Yeah.
Oh my God! And that's why you were so adverse to having Jim Norton jerk off in your car.
Well, yeah. Well, especially when he didn't stop. At least if you're going to argue about it, you could probably just stop, but he's still going.
Have a little shame.
Yeah.
I don't think. So that's weird that Catholicism, like, I don't know. I was never ever told that masturbation was bad or anything.
See, yeah, well, and my dad would get Playboy magazine delivered to the house, which was weird.
Yeah.
It was, my mom was, we were always in church and Catholic
Right.
school and all this, but for some reason it was a play. So whenever they would go out for dinner,
Yeah.
we'd always go look at the Playboys, me and my brother.
Yeah. But it didn't do anything.
Didn't do it, I didn't even think about, I don't know what was
Your
going
brother
on.
didn't either?
No, we didn't just go, all right, are you taking it to the bathroom? I'll take it. We didn't do any of that. No.
So you don't know if your brother was jerking off or not?
We shared a room, probably not.
So you knew? Oh my God!
He was bottom bunk, I was top bunk. I
Yeah.
didn't hear any movement going on down there.
All right, so then okay, so you just have a string of disastrous relationships with crazy people.
Crazy people. Then I try. My dad wound up passing away at like 58, had a massive heart attack.
Oh my God!
Just when our relationship was kind of strained over the years.
Yeah.
And we finally got he actually saw me do comedy a couple times before he passed away. This was like 93.
Was that good?
It was great because you know what one thing about him, when he had the failed truck business, the hot dog thing,
Yeah.
he didn't care that I went for my dream.
Yeah.
Like he was like, go for it. I said, Dad, this is what I want to do. He's like, hey, go for it. I had 100% support from my family, which was good.
I think you should put hot dogs on your T-shirt
I should-
to honor your father. Just have fucking people like, what the fuck does that mean?
it was
father's-
Florentine's Gourmet. It was called. These old shitty trucks.
You should make those shirts.
I should.
So he saw you. That's good.
He saw, and I did my first comedy show for MTV. Remember when they were doing half-hour comedy?
Yeah, I did those.
But then they did Kamikaze.
I did that.
Okay,
with
so
the floating head.
yeah,
With what's his name? Bowman or John Bowman.
John Bowman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was I was only doing comedy a couple of years, and I got booked on that show. So
Right.
he came to the tape, and him and my mom.
Oh, that's great.
So he saw me, and then like about 4 months later, he passed away.
Just one heart attack. Yeah.
One heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
And right in front of us, like my mom woke me up in the mornings, like Dad's not breathing. Ran upstairs, and We were trying to revive him. The police came and the ambulance and all that stuff. And,
Oh God.
Yeah, it was brutal. So after that, I wound up moving in with my mom because I felt like she needed to be taken care of. So
Right.
now I'm back into the because they were married like 34 years. Everybody else was moved out of the house.
So you live there now?
No, this is a while ago.
Okay.
So I moved in with her just for a couple of years to take care of my mom.
Yeah.
And then I just said, I got to start, dating normal girls. So my dad was even telling me, like, when we started getting friendly again, he's like, dude, what are you doing? These girls are a disaster. I like them, but come on, you just find a normal one like your mom. Why? There's girls out there that don't act like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really, you could find a nice one. I found a nice one right away.
What were some of the other ones?
But it didn't make sense
Yeah.
to me. I'm like, I'm like,
How do you know? Why? Also, like, they don't seem to be attracted to me. The nice girls. I mean,
No.
that's the other thing. It's like people say that once you find a normal girl, I'm like, I'm not on their radar. Apparently.
Not at all. Well, I had long hair too, so it was
Yeah.
like I was just getting strippers and hairdressers. That's all I was getting. Chicks that cut hair, like, oh man, how'd you get your hair like that? I'm like, it's just natural. That's natural, Oh, chicks that get paid in singles is basically what I had.
Right.
So I wasn't meeting any nice girls.
You dated strippers a lot?
Well, would fool around with them here and there. Yeah.
I know. Like, I dated a chick who worked in the sex industry. It's difficult. It's not an easy path. That one.
No, it's it always ends in a disaster
Yeah.
because as they get older too.
Yeah.
Because then what do you do?
Yeah.
You go from making $800 a night cash, not paying any taxes on it,
Yeah.
to trying to work in an office job, making
Yeah.
bringing home $515 every 2
With
weeks.
the possibility of somebody at the office going, I remember you.
Yeah, that too, absolutely.
Do it.
No more Louis Vuitton bags,
Yeah.
no more. Hey, let's go on a shopping spree. I got cash.
Yeah, nah.
That shit's all out the window.
Yeah.
So it's a tough road for them afterwards. But then when I cut my hair short.
Yeah.
Like in the mid 90s, and then none of those girls were attracted to me anymore.
Right.
So I had no choice. I had to find like a nice girl. All of a sudden, girls like that worked in the bank thought I was
Right.
attractive, and they're like, "Oh, you want to go to brunch?" I'm like, "What the? I don't even know what brunch was at that point." I'm like,
Yeah, what is that?
Go to brunch.
People wake up at that
I
hour
know.
on Sunday?
On Sunday, and go out with other couples.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
That's crazy.
I know. I don't want to talk to anyone.
So what ultimately happened?
So I eventually 2 years in, I lived with my mom. Try to start dating normal girls, but
Yeah.
they were boring.
Yeah.
I was like, "There's no excitement here. This is
Yeah,
awful."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. No, there's no grip to it.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
This is for like a married guy in the 40s that
Yeah,
wants to,
yeah.
So then I just said, you know what? I gotta go back to the dark side. And I met this girl.
Where'd you
and
meet her?
I met her at a comedy show. She was actually at my show.
Yeah.
And we started talking. I exchanged numbers, and we wound up dating for 6 years. And she was, a big, it was a huge project. I went basically, dove right back in.
Right.
The whole
Yeah.
history, chemical imbalance.
Oh, she was bipolar.
Born with chemical imbalance, molested as a kid, foster homes, adopted.
Oh, my God.
All that stuff, horrendous childhood.
Yeah.
And it was just, and it showed, she was, but I was like, this is a project for me.
But it must have been like there was chemistry there.
There
It
definitely was. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
because she was,
It didn't become a project till after.
No, I
right?
mean, she'd walk in a room, you're like, oh my God, look at this. She was gorgeous. And
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
a total knockout and
Yeah.
just wild and funny.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh my God. And you walk in like, wow.
Yeah, see, that's it, man.
That was it.
Yeah.
And whenever someone like, that's your, holy shit. But then,
Right.
the moments,
But how long did it take for you to realize that she had trouble?
right away.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right away. Yeah. But I was like, all right, this is a project for me. I'm going
Well, you sit there and you do that weird thing. It's like, well, is it worth it? And then like you're like, yeah, because your heart gets connected to it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's out of my fucking wheelhouse. I don't know if I can handle this. But then the arc will come like this is crazy, and then all of a sudden it's back to like, oh, we're good. And
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And I just, always felt bad. Even though I don't like to deal with any kind of aggravation at all, it was always like I always found these women that were just
Drama.
Total drama. And I didn't want any drama in my life. I just wanted to show up, do the gig, do my whatever. Like, I don't want any problems, and stuff like that. And then I would get in these relationships like, oh my God, this is out of control.
do you ever think like, maybe you like drama?
But yeah, well, I was like, look, I met Jim Norton. I saw him do a joke about, fucking his grandmother in church. I'm like, I like that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
There's something wrong with him. So yeah, always Rich Voss, disaster, Bob
Yeah.
Levy. I always attracted to like people like that were just crazy.
Yeah, because they live interesting lives and they seem to be okay with it.
Yeah.
you know, people who don't live interesting lives out of fear are like, ugh, wait, what am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? They're just sort of like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone that was normal, to me, that was boring. I'm like, you know.
Yeah, as you get older, though, because obviously you and I, we got our own problems. And then, like,
Right.
at some point you realize, well, you know, this is who I am. And maybe if I can just, you know, kind of temper some of the shit that gets me into trouble, I'll be all right. You can't get rid of it. But you can sort of like, eventually get old enough, like, I'm not gonna do that because it's going to cause me a bunch of trouble.
Yeah. You know, usually about late 30s, you realize that as a guy. Seinfeld, though, made a great point. He said comedians are like 20 years behind being grown up. Like when they're 45, they're really 25. And that's almost exactly right.
That is right.
It is.
That wasn't a joke. That was something he said.
Yeah, that's something he said in an interview. Yeah.
See, that would be a joke for us. And
Right.
It's like, you know, just a self-analysis.
Yeah.
So what happened with this girl?
So we date 6 years.
But like, what was some of the behavior that was out of fucking?
Just, you know, the highs and the lows.
Oh,
you
right,
know,
right.
just,
Was
you
she
know.
on medication?
No, she took a little here and there, but not really. She didn't want to take it. She was vegetarian, and she always, you know, ate healthy and stuff. And she didn't want to put that, you know, the pills, and she wasn't crazy about taking that stuff.
Isn't that weird? Like, you know, that there's the thing about that people come from chaos is that they find one thing in their life that they can control, whether it's you know, like the food or whatever, and that's their whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna. You know.
Well, it's like every stripper is like a vegetarian. They love animals, but meanwhile, you know, $200, I'll go home with you. You know, go in this back room for another 50. But they see a little animal. Oh, yeah.
It's a bizarre thing, but I think it's a control thing. You know, they all come from such chaos.
Yeah.
It's one thing. So she wouldn't take the pills.
She wouldn't take the pills, and you know, she was adopted, and she really wanted to find her real family.
Yeah.
And the adopted mother had the information, but she was always afraid because she always said, I'm going to get rejected. I'm afraid to get rejected again.
Right.
If I find my real mom. What if she doesn't like me or doesn't return my calls?
Right.
So, you know, she was at a point where she was having so many issues that I said, you know what? I'm going to find her real mom because maybe she can really make a connection there and have a real family and, you know, help her,
right.
you know, move to the next level and get better.
Yeah.
Mentally and stuff. So I've wound up tracking her down.
Yeah.
And she lived in like Orange County, California.
Really?
She was married, you know, lived there for 25 years. And I got her on the phone. I said, look, you know, your daughter or whatever. And they started crying on the phone. And I was coming out to California to a club. So I said, we'll be out there in 2 weeks. And we went and they met for the first time. She was 27 at the time.
Oh my God.
It was unbelievable. I mean, the whole family came out. You know, we see two women come out. We weren't sure which one was her mom.
Right.
We didn't see any pictures. And she's like, Jade, I'm your mom. And it was just like they started hugging. It was unbelievable, man. It was like an amazing moment. And she had brothers that she didn't know.
Like half brothers, huh?
Yeah, half brothers. Yeah, and all this stuff. So it was, you know, and then
oh
we just.
My God, that's overwhelming.
So she just, you know, it totally turned her life around. She's like, this is the greatest moment of my life. If I never live another day, I just know that this, you know, this was amazing. And she became, like, her and her mom became best friends.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the reason why she was put up for adoption in the first place?
You know, she was Vietnamese during the war back in the 70s. She left.
The
mother left. The father wanted to stay for some reason, and she took off while she was pregnant and came to the States because she knew a couple people and came here and then got adopted by like a church. Some weird church.
Huh.
Like Mennonites. They're almost like Amish.
Yeah.
And they basically, you know, gave her to a family.
Huh.
And they always had contact. The pastor that she was, you know, that gave away to the family always had contact with the real mom. And the real mom she said at that time, I just couldn't take care of you. I couldn't speak English. I had no job. I was like, you know, sewing stuff in the back of a store, you know, for like $3 an hour.
Oh my God.
I couldn't speak English. But then, you know, a couple of years later, she found, her family, some extended family out in California. She moved out there and she just said, you know, I'm sure she's better off with that family. So.
And she wasn't really.
She wasn't, no. So, you know, they find her, and, you know, and they become best friends. They're hanging, and we're going back and forth. They came to visit us, this and that. And then, you know, ultimately it didn't really help in the long run. Because, you know, with mental illness and, you know, with a chemical imbalance is, you know, it's basically like a loose wire.
Yeah.
In layman's terms. There's a wire that's loose that, you know, you don't usually react like. You get fired from a job, you go, all right, this is going to suck for a while, but I'll find another one. Someone with a loose wire is going to go, all right, I can't take this anymore. I don't see any way out.
Right.
Never going to find another job. I'm just going to, you know, end my life. It's going to be easier.
Right.
So 6 years in, we're, you know, I'm doing a show and she, leaves me a message while I'm on stage. And I didn't see it coming. I mean, I didn't see that she was at that point because it was a whole, during the 6 years, there was a lot of moments where she was low.
Yeah.
And she left me a message, on my cell phone when I got off stage crying. It's like, I can't do this anymore. I love you and please don't be mad at me, but I can't take it anymore. I need to be out of pain. I rushed home and found her laying on the ground.
Oh my God.
It's brutal.
How'd she do it?
Pills and booze. And
she
just
was,
a mixture.
And she was dead when you got there.
Yeah. She knew, to do it at that time because she knew I was an hour away. And it's funny because I was opening for Dice at a big theater.
Yeah.
So, an hour away, she knew, what time I was going to be on stage, like 8 o'clock or whatever. So she knew exactly when to do it, where by the time I got home,
right.
I wouldn't have been. And we even had a little dog.
Yeah.
And it was weird because she told me, she goes, hey, why don't you drop the dog off of your mom's tonight? I'm like, why? She goes, your mom likes the dog. I go, nah, that'll be fine. Because I was like, that's weird. Why would she say that? But she didn't want the dog to be there.
Right.
So she actually took the dog down to my mom's after I left. And she goes, oh, just take the dog for a couple of days. I know how much you like the dog.
Huh.
She didn't want to do it with the dog. So she had a whole plan and stuff. And then, afterwards, you just feel like, the biggest piece of shit. Like, wow, why wasn't I there for her?
Right.
But meanwhile, she would have done it. She didn't do it then, she would have done it another time.
Well, yeah, when they have a plan like that.
Right. So it was like, if
Has she tried before?
No, she never tried. But, she always said, sometimes it'd be better if I just want to go to sleep and never wake up. That's a major sign.
So,
and a lot of times with suicide, people always think that when someone goes, I'm just going to end my life, I can't take it anymore, I just want to go to sleep, and that's a major sign. That's not a cry for help. Like, they're just doing that to get attention. That's a major. I found that out later, obviously.
Well, so when you found her, what happened?
I mean, the ambulance came, the cops. I had them meet us there. I got to the house first because I thought she wasn't picking up. I said, she's just,
right.
She's just having a moment or whatever, and she's going to be there. She's going to be fine watching TV.
But you were worried.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I did like 100 miles an hour all the way home. And then I get there, and I just, ran into the spare bedroom, and the door was shut. And, it was never shut, that door, and I knew something bad was behind that door.
God damn it.
It was, yeah. And then, the ambulance come, and they're giving her mouth-to-mouth, and, it was just, I still thought she was okay. Like, you never know. It was the same thing like with my dad. When I saw him laying there, I'm like, all right, he's going to be okay. They're taking him away. And, and I remember she just said, wow, she's such a beautiful girl. I can't believe that. Yeah. So sad. And I just knew that was,
Yeah. Yeah. And what happened to your life after that?
Then it was just, I didn't even know. I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, how am I even going to get up on stage again? Like, how can I go up there and tell jokes? When everybody knows,
and
pretty much.
You felt responsible?
Totally responsible. It's because that kind of death is just total. Like if you tell your girlfriend, go to the store and get me cigarettes or whatever like that, and she gets an accident, you're going to feel guilty. Like if I didn't tell her to go to the store, she would never got killed. So, and suicide is like that too. Whoever's closest to her, like, man, what could I have done? I should have seen the signs. I should have never did that comedy show that night. All of that stuff. So there's so much more guilt there.
And how did you process it? I mean, how did you get your head right around it?
Well, I really went to, there was like, I found out like these survivors of suicide groups, like these bereavement groups.
Yeah.
And like 2 weeks later, I was like, I got to do something, man, because I started reading books on it and all that stuff.
You're just beating the shit out of yourself.
Beating the shit out of me, totally.
Yeah.
And then everybody blames you. All my friends, if eventually they start blaming you. Like I was the last one
really
to be with her. Like, what happened? Did you cause this? Yeah. What'd
you do?
Yeah. What did you do? Did you say something to her?
Even though they knew she was unstable.
Yeah. Even though they always, that's just anger and they're trying to process it. So they need somebody to blame.
Right.
So that was super rough, that her friends, basically turn on you after that.
Oh my God. So you started reading on it and then you go to these bereavement groups.
I go to bereavement groups. I remember walking in for the first time and it's like they're laughing before it starts. And I'm like, how can these people laugh? Because they all went through it, a son or a daughter.
Right.
And I'm like, how can these people smile?
And you're a comic and it was beyond your understanding.
It was beyond my understanding. Like, how could you be in a good mood? You lost your son. You know what I mean? Like, I could never think I could get to that place.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was almost like AA. This woman was 2 years in where her son took her life. This woman was 5. This one was 9 months, and I was only 2 weeks. And I looked at the 9 months. I'm like, holy shit, I can get to that point at 9 months. There's no way. You couldn't see.
Right.
You couldn't see that you can get to that point. You're like, there's no way. There's no way out of this fog.
What were your thoughts around that though? Like, I mean, for yourself, I mean, in the cycle of beating the shit out of yourself, what were you saying to yourself in terms of the rest of your life? You know, how was that looking to you? Like, you know, I mean, what, you weren't thinking about killing yourself, were you?
No, no, that never crossed my mind.
But you just didn't see any way out of this?
I didn't see any way. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't want to go back to my apartment. Now, my mom just said, look, stay here. Don't go back there. I go, I don't want to walk back in there because just opening that door was just a complete nightmare. I'm like, I never want to deal with it. I can't go in there every night. I can understand that when someone dies in their house, to live there, whatever, you know, all that stuff. And my mom says, just stay here for a while. So I wound up staying there for like 6 months.
And kept going. Would you go every week?
I would go every week. There was different ones, and I would go, and I'd just sit there and listen and talk, and I would tell my story, and, you know, just realize, you know, find out that they're like, look, it has nothing to do with you. Suicide is just a temporary problem for, you know, like it's just a temporary problem someone has and doesn't see their way out. Anyone that's attempted and didn't make it always said, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Whether I lost my job or I got divorced, my wife left me, and I just said, there's no way I'm going to get out of this. They always think everyone's going to be better off without them.
Yeah.
That's the main thing in suicide. Like, my family's going to be better off without me because I'm a pain in the ass. I'm a drama queen.
Right.
So it's better to just end my life.
Right.
In that weird way, they think that. It's like, that's not 100%, you know, false.
Right.
Of course, you know, their dad's a fuck up, but of course the kids want him around.
Right.
But they think, you know, my kids are going to be better
Self-pity,
off.
they're just consumed by...
Yeah.
That's the selfishness of it. Is that they've made themselves out to be this piece of shit.
Yep.
Then they're just going to do everyone a favor.
Yeah, so I think that's what my ex, but I think she thought, like, you know what, you know, I've been such a pain in the ass to him, and it's so time consuming for him to take care of me. It's just going to be better off that
God. So did you have to call her real mother and shit and like that kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah, the real mother, the adopted mother, all of that.
You
stuff.
made all those calls.
Yeah.
What was the reaction?
Well, it was weird. The real mother never came to the funeral.
Yeah, because she probably felt responsible.
She felt responsible.
Ugh. And are you in touch with them anymore?
No, there's no contact.
And what about the step parents or the?
No contact.
Did they came to the funeral though?
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, I got we went down to where she grew up in Pennsylvania. And you know, she got buried there, where in the hometown. But then after that, it just, it turned ugly where it was all my fault.
Oh, they did too?
Yeah, and then we had a place together, so it was a whole battle over the estate and stuff, and it was just
because you
got
owned the
really
house?
nasty. Yeah, we had an apartment right outside of like right in Cliffside Park, right outside of New York City.
Oh, really? And then that got ugly too?
That got super ugly.
When did this happen?
This happened 2006, late 2006.
And where's it all at now? It's all done?
Everything's done. Yeah, moved on, and now I got married and I got a kid.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So my whole one man show is about basically the shit that I was in and just how I recovered and found somebody and just have a happy life and really recovered from this disaster. But
how long did it take you to process?
I'll tell you, it took me a long time, but I went to this healer guy, this shaman guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, a comedian friend, this girl, Laura Levitas.
I know Laura Levitas.
Okay, so Laura tells me about this guy named Gypsy.
Yeah.
She's like, look, she used to always go to him. She used to always tell me, go to this guy, he's really good, and he's going to help you with this.
And you were desperate enough to...
At first, I was like, I'm not going, what am I going to do? I go to a friggin' shaman? Come on. She's like, seriously, just go. He does this massage thing, and he knows what's going on and all this stuff. And I actually flew to California from Jersey to go see. He was out here.
And a guy like you, that's got to be like, you got to be pretty, desperate emotionally to look at that as an option. Like, it was probably a struggle for you.
Oh, it totally was, because I was like, a guy's guy.
How are you going to tell Dice you went to Gypsy?
Exactly, yeah. And it was like, and also, it's like, when Laura would tell me to go to therapy, I'm like, I'm not going to therapy. I'm like, I'm going to lose my anger, and then I'm not going to be funny on stage, because that's where I get my comedy from. She's like, you're such an idiot. Just go. You're not going to lose your anger.
Right, yeah.
But that was my thing. I'm not going to be funny. Right. I'm going to be mellow.
Right. Isn't that weird, though? Because, we're stubborn like that, and there's this idea, it's like, fuck that.
Well, that's like Kinnison back in the day. He would do coke all night, but he would tell his brother, like, if I could, we watch CNN. If we could just get one funny line, it's worth it for our act. And that was his way of going. We're writing.
Yeah.
So we're going to do coke all night.
That's a rationalization.
I know.
One funny line.
So I wouldn't go to therapy because I was like, I don't want to lose my anger because I'm not going to be funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to find anything. I'm not going to get angry over anything. So I'm not going to have any jokes.
But this is before the bereavement group.
That was right before the bereavement group.
And before that. So you go to Gypsy.
I go to Gypsy.
And what happens?
He doesn't know my story. He just knows. Laura says, hey, he's coming. He lost his girlfriend. She leaves me a note.
The girlfriend?
Yeah.
What did it say?
basically, well, I go to him. He sits me down and he tells me everything that's in the note, and he had no idea what was in the note because Laura didn't know what was in the note. Nobody did except for me and my family.
Was it that specific that he couldn't have?
He went, she would have done this a long time ago if she never would have met you. You gave her the best, whatever, 5-6 years of her life, and she would have, she's happy now. She wants her to go be happy and be out of pain. She's out of pain. She's okay. Go live your life.
That was what was in the note?
Word for word.
Huh.
Word for word.
So that must have blown your mind.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then this one thing that he said, he goes, look, just remember this. He goes, you were chapter 3 in her life. Chapter 1 was the root of the problem. You weren't there for chapter 1. That was huge for me.
Yeah.
Just that saying right there that I wasn't, because it was, the book was already written.
Yeah.
Chapter 1 was the problem when she was born.
Yeah.
So I was just a chapter in her life that came along.
Right.
So, there was, and then he just he did this massage thing and just, found all this shit.
Did you cry?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, opened you right up, right?
Brutal, yeah.
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 It was amazing. And then when he left, when I was leaving, he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, your girlfriend Jade didn't send you here. Laura didn't send you here. Your girlfriend Jade did. I'm like, hey, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm like, all right, and come on, you did your job, all right? You don't have to throw that. And then when I got in the car, I was like, holy shit, she actually saved me.
Right.
She really did. She was the one that brought me there.
So that was the beginning of the unburdening.
That was the beginning of the unburdening. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Still go to the support group. He did a bunch of shows. Raised a lot of money and stuff like that. Did some walks in New York City for suicide.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah.
And how long did you go to the meetings?
I went to the meetings for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like during doing the stand up, I mean, how did it change you on stage, or were you just?
No, it really didn't change me on stage. I was nervous about getting up on stage
because you're too vulnerable.
And then I'm thinking everybody's looking at me.
Really?
Everybody knows my story.
But you didn't find support in the community? I mean, the guys like, Norton and those guys?
Oh, those guys, absolutely. They were 100%. But I'm saying the crowds.
Oh, right.
Because, they knew. It got out there, of course. I didn't care. I was like, I'm not
on Stern or something?
Stern. And, just everybody knew, the radio shows. And, the crowds knew, basically, what happened.
But you thought they were blaming you too? Or?
No, I thought they were looking at me like, how can this guy be cracking jokes when his girlfriend just died?
Oh, so you felt guilty.
I felt guilty up there. I'm like, man, how can I have a good time on stage and crack these jokes? But
it was, how long did it take you to get back up there?
About almost a month.
Okay, you got to do it, but no one ever said anything like that.
No one ever said anything, but it was just me thinking
sure.
that, for a long time, like, oh shit, they're looking at me like, this guy, how could he be doing this?
Yeah.
Because that's the whole stigma behind it. You really, like people go, how can that guy?
You couldn't save her. You let her die. That was the stigma.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh God. So, and when did you meet your wife?
So, like 3 years after she passed away, my friend calls me up and he says, hey, he goes, you want to go see Kid Rock?
Right.
In concert. He goes, they got free tickets. We're going to go tailgate. We got a bunch of hot chicks meeting us there. You in? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, what do you mean you don't know? I go, I don't know. I go, I'll let you know tomorrow. He's like, what a pussy. Jersey, of course. He actually said, he goes, really, that's not incentive enough. And this is exactly what it did, word for word. And I do it in my show. He goes, really, what are you going to stay home and take it in the ass? That's what he told me. And one of my best friends that was in my wedding party. Because I said, I don't know if I want to go to see Kid Rock because he got a free ticket and there's going to be beer.
You're going to go home and take a life in the ass?
Yeah, take it in the ass. And it was weird because the only reason I was reluctant on that was my ex's favorite band, and we used to always go see him when he came around. He would come around like once a year.
Did you tell your friend that?
I didn't tell him that because I was just like, I didn't want to get into him about that. He would have been like, oh, pussy, that was 3 years ago. You still worried about that?
There's something funny about the metaphor of like, because on some level, you were letting life take you. You were taking it in the ass because you wouldn't get out of that cycle.
Yeah.
Of self, flagellation over this fucking thing.
Absolutely. But I was like, I felt bad going without her.
Right.
3 years later.
But that's not unreasonable.
Yeah. And that night I remember just figuring out what I wanted to do, and she actually came to me in a dream.
Really?
Yeah. And she never came to me before. Like the whole time I was hoping that I would see her at some point, that she was okay.
Yeah.
And she just said, go to the show. Go.
That's all the dream
Go.
is?
Go to the show. Yeah. And I'm just like, what? But I want to just go. You'll thank me. Go. Like that. And it was like, what? But I want to. And then she was gone. Like she just friggin' drifted off.
Do you believe in heaven?
I have a hard time as you get older when you really figure stuff out. There's something going on out there. I just don't know what it is, but it's kind of,
it might be in here, it might be out there, somewhere in the middle. I don't know.
But I'll tell you something which I forgot the story.
Yeah.
So I'm on stage opening that show for Dice, and it's packed.
The night she died.
2,000 people.
Yeah.
In the middle of my show, I got this surge, went right through my body. It was just almost like I got struck by lightning. I don't know. I never felt that before on stage. It was right after I finished a joke. I'm like, the hell was that? That's weird. And then I went right on to my show, and that was basically the moment when she passed. It was really weird because it wasn't like, oh, I hope she's going to be okay. It just, and a lot of people I've talked to have had that, with someone dying or whatever. They felt their dad pass away, and on another coast or something like that. She just had this weird feeling,
really?
And then all of a sudden my mom called. Yeah, it was really freaky. So that's why there's something out there. I just don't know what it is.
So she said go, and you go to the concert.
I'm sitting in the parking lot drinking beers, a bunch of the hot chicks.
Yeah.
I start rapping with this one. I'm like, hey, you got a boyfriend? She's like, no. Why not? Well, it's a long story. I got time. I don't need to see the opening band. It was some shitty band or something. Yeah. I'll wait for Kid Rock to go on. She's like, well, she goes, look, I'm just sick of men. I've been taking care of them my whole life. They're all fucking disasters, and I'm done with that. I'm just looking for a nice guy. And I'm like, holy shit. We exchanged numbers that night.
I just became a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, you met me at the right time because I was a scumbag for a long time, and I'm looking for someone I don't have to take care of either.
Yeah.
And then we went on dates, and within a year and a half, we had a kid and we got married.
That's a fucking great story. And she's not nuts?
She's not nuts.
You're sure?
But positive. She has a little moments,
Right.
A little moments,
But nothing too crazy.
No.
And would you have a son or a daughter?
We have a son.
Uh-huh.
He's 2.5.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're all right.
I'm all right, yeah.
You're out of the tunnel.
I'm out of it took a while, man.
And do you find that, how's the show resonating with people who went through the same experiences?
People love it because a lot of people have dealt with depression in their family. If they didn't lose somebody, they know somebody close.
Uh-huh.
And, it's just tough getting people to that show because it's so heavy. It's funny. Most of it is funny. I do slides. I show pictures.
What's it called?
It's called I'm Your Savior.
And did you release it on DVD or
not yet? I'm hoping to get it off like Broadway, do like a Colin Quinn thing with his long story short.
Sure.
So I've done it a bunch of times in New York. I've done it in L.A. a couple times. I'm hoping to get a director for it to bring it to the next level and then shoot it as a special.
Oh, that's great.
Comedy
Jim.
Central saw it, but they said it's too serious. I'm like, really? 5 minutes out of a show is too serious? Like, some of the shit I see on there's 5 minutes where there's no laughs on your network.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, some of the stuff you have on there is literally depressing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
For the wrong reason.
Right.
Here I've got a context. I can carry people through the emotions of this thing in a funny way. No.
They don't want that 5 minutes. It's just going to kill. People are going to turn the channel.
What, maybe Showtime or Netflix?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different places. I'm definitely going to release it because I really like doing it. But it's totally different from what I do on stage, which I like. It's like a little, I'm more of just, rough, gruff guy up there.
Well, no, I think it's, it's amazing to hear a guy of your ilk, have to, be forced into a situation. Like, we all get into those situations in our lives where we have to, we have to reckon with our feelings. Yeah. And if you're a guy that your whole life has been sort of like, fuck those feelings.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fucking do that. The New Jersey thing. And then all of a sudden you reckon with them and you process them in a way. It must be very rewarding because, it's helpful to you, helpful to other people. It opened up a whole other part of your heart. I mean, Jesus.
It totally did. It helped a lot of people understand. I always was weird about like when a public figure went public with something so tragic. I'm like, what are they doing that for? Why don't they just keep it to themselves? Like that was always my thing. Like, why would they? But it helped so many people that were afraid to go there, to talk about it, like that somebody else that they kind of know, will talk about it. And then they're like, holy shit. I went on Stern and told the story and people, I must have got like 1,000 emails.
Yeah.
And I was calling people and talking to them and stuff that went through it and stuff because I was way ahead of them and stuff and just talk to these guys and tell them what's coming and what you didn't do wrong and what you did. Go to this group, find groups for them and stuff and get the help.
What the fuck is it about men in general? After a certain point, because when you do something like that, when you tell your truth, and it's a painful truth, then all of a sudden, just legions of people, like, they're just holding this shit in. They just hold it in because they think that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
I know. Be a man. Come on,
but what does that even mean?
I know. It is.
Give yourself cancer because you don't want to have feelings?
Absolutely, and that's what it is. It destroys your insides. I went to a doctor, like this alternative doctor, this naturopathic doctor, and he took my blood work and stuff like that. He's like, dude, he goes, your insides are destroyed over this tragedy. He's like, you need to really build yourself back up because it's really eating you away. So he put me on like a whole vitamin program and all these powders and stuff and did all this stuff, and it really just built me back up. He says, seriously, you don't see it, but you're destroyed inside.
Well, you feel that feeling that you have where you literally, like, you feel like some like a hand is holding your heart. Like, oh, you fuck. Don't fucking, and the relief that you must have felt. I mean, I imagine after each time you do the show, it's got to be somewhat like a burden off your back.
It is. Yeah, it's just totally, really emotional, too.
Yeah.
Because I go back to that place and I tell the whole story on stage, and it's just like I can go back to that place in a second.
Yeah.
My wife's always fascinated by my regular stand-up. She's like, how could you get that angry at that point? You've been doing that joke for like 9 months. I go, I can go back to that moment and just like that. Even if I'm over it, like I'm not angry over it anymore or whatever, I could go right to there. So it's not a problem at all.
But it also, that kind of shit gets funnier and the more grounded you are. Like, when you're in the middle of it, there's no, even with a joke, when you're really angry about something,
right?
The humor, a lot of times the laughs are just people uncomfortable because you're so fucking angry.
Right.
But once a little time goes by, and you're not that angry, but you can tap into it again, you got a little more of a handle on it, and it's a funnier thing. Right?
They always told Rich Voss when he went through a divorce.
Yeah.
He said he lost so much club work when he was going through the divorce because he was so angry on stage.
Right.
He was just lashing out at people. And they always say, if you're going through, don't even talk about a divorce for like at least the first 6-8 months minimum.
Right.
Because it's just going to come out pure anger and it's just going to, it's not going to be funny yet. Let it process.
Well, I was doing a one-man show about my divorce while it was happening. Oh. But I knew enough to say, like, I didn't do, like, I did some of this stuff on stand-up stage. That was manageable. But I just took the other stuff to a workshop situation. I'm like, I'm in the, like, New York, Time Out New York said, the great thing about this show is Maron has no hindsight. So it's very engaging. Like, I had not worked through it. So it was a theatrical experience, but it was not controlled.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had no handle on it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, fuck, man. It sounds like, things sort of, worked out.
Yeah.
And you're not heavy-hearted about it anymore.
No, look, you still think about it all the time, but I gotta,
But it sounds like you've grieved it properly.
I agree. Yeah. And I needed to take it head on because if I didn't, and that's why people that don't deal with stuff reach for that bottle.
Yeah.
Reach for the pills.
Yeah.
Reach for the, smoking reefer or whatever it is. Cause like, I don't want to feel that pain. And thank God it happened to me when I was, 40 or 41.
Right.
Instead of 25, cause I would have never dealt with it.
You could have gotten more fucked up yourself.
Totally. I would have totally went that way. Not that I have any addictions, but I totally would have just put it to the side and just, whenever I felt that, I would have friggin' started drinking or doing whatever. So I'm glad that it happened later in life.
All right, man. Well, fucking good luck with the show, man.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.